Hi guys! Today I'm going to read to you a story that I wrote about something that happened to me when I was a kid growing up in a small town called Hazelton in northern BC. First, I'm going to show you on Google Maps where it is to give you some context, and I'm also going to show you some photos of the house that my dad designed and built, which is where this story takes place. I'll start zoomed out here for my non-Canadian friends. On the west coast of Canada is the big, beautiful province of British Columbia, where I've always lived. Down here, just above the US border, is Vancouver, and this big island is Vancouver Island, where I currently live right about here in Campbell River. If you drive about 15 hours north from Vancouver, you get to Hazelton, and there's not much past there except for trees. There are four main parts. There's New Hazelton, South Hazelton, Old Hazelton, and 2 Mile, where I lived. My house was over here on Skeena Street, right here. This big forest basically served as my backyard. This here is the neighbor's house that's mentioned in the story, and this is the duplex across the street. The house was still under construction here, but you can see my playhouse on stilts was already built to the right of it. Most of these photos are from the real estate agent who recently sold the house. The last owners closed in the entryway, but this is what it looked like when my dad built it. These are the stairs going up from the front door. At the top was my bedroom, and my bed was built over the corner of the garage. To the left of the stairs was the living room, and the back wall went up to the top floor balcony. To the right of the stairs was the dining room and the kitchen, and then past that, the stairs to the top floor. Sick day. This story has to start with a description of the house. It was possible, if you were as small and agile as I was at 8 years old, to get to all 3 floors without using the stairs. Under the stairs on the main floor, there was a small hole used for chucking laundry down to the basement. It would fall down, beside some very sturdy shelving, into a heap beside the dryer, and I often took the same route, climbing down the shelves. If, instead of going down the shelves, I just stretched across the corner-shaped gap, I could get into a crawl space at the back of the pantry, where I liked to hide away with a sleeping bag and some snacks. This would not have made it past modern safety sensibilities, but life was a more carefree affair back then. To get to the upstairs, which was a half floor, all I had to do was climb over the balcony railing with the help of the couch back and a bookcase. Once upstairs, I could go between bedrooms through cubby holes in closets, or just disappear between them into a large empty space between oddly shaped walls. One warm day in May, I was homesick from school, and I was on my own for a bit because my dad had to run to the store. Being home alone wasn't unusual for kids. It was a quiet, back-of-the-woods town where you knew your neighbors and nothing ever happened. It so happened that I wasn't the only one missing school that day. As I rested on the couch, I saw 2 guys walking up our long driveway. Once they got to the door, they were out of view, and I had no idea who they were. I had a feeling that I should try to find out, to see without being seen. So finally, my propensity for climbing was needed. From the upstairs balcony, I could get a view of the whole stairwell and entryway. So, to avoid passing in front of the door and being seen, I took my alternate route, onto the couch back, up the bookcase, and a chin up over the balcony railing. I lay down and peered over the edge. The front door opened a crack. A hand reached through. With some sniffs and friendly tail wags, my dear dog welcomed the robbers into our home. I don't know what I felt most at that point, fear or excitement. Whatever it was thrilling for an 8-year-old. Once they were in the dining room and out of view, I slipped into a closet and closed the door. I made my way to the back and hid under a pile of blankets and clothes, my heart thudding as I listened to their footsteps, through the kitchen, up the stairs. They stopped in front of the closet. The door opened. They weren't interested in button-up shirts and bedding, so they closed the door and carried on. The bedrooms were next. As I listened, I prayed fervently that they wouldn't notice my sister's jewelry sitting on top of her dresser. We weren't fancy people, but she had a few special items of gold and silver. They didn't notice. I watched under the door as they checked the other room and went back down the stairs. From the kitchen, I could hear them discussing the merits and weight of our microwave. I don't know what possessed me at that point. Perhaps it was a feeling of valor in the face of an increasingly desperate situation. We were, after all, about to lose our microwave. I went down the stairs and into the dining room. When the two burglars saw me, their jaws dropped, their eyes bulged, and they exclaimed some things to the effect of, "Oh dear," and they skedaddled without the microwave. Our neighbor watched them leave our property in a manner that didn't suggest a friendly visit, and watched as they entered the duplex across the street without knocking. He called the cops, who nabbed the truant high schoolers trying to climb out of a basement window. 3 years later, we were living in Vernon, and we received a letter in the mail. It was from one of the young men who, with the encouragement of his parole officer, was endeavoring to make things right. "I'm very sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to scare you." "Don't worry, whoever you are. You're forgiven. In fact, I feel a little bit indebted to you. That was the most exciting sick day I ever had."